Well, hello everyone, Texy88 here and welcome to another retro gaming review. And now I bring you the Commodore 64 port of Konami's arcade game, the WEC Le Mans or WEC Le Mans, depending on how it's supposed to be pronounced. It's still a bit unclear. I've heard both in equal doses. One thing I've noticed is that this music that you're hearing, which is making great use of the Commodore 64 SID chip, was done by Le Musique. God, that's corny. It's been done by the same person that did it in the aforementioned Spectrum and Amstrad CPC versions that I've reviewed previously, Jonathan Dunn. And as ever, he's done a commendable job of this. Now, the Spectrum and Amstrad ports are excellent, so this version's got a lot to live up to. I mean, even though I had some issues with the CPC version due to its stripy road design being somewhat of an eyesore and some slight issues with the hit detection, it was still a more than average port. I only thought it was marginally less enjoyable than the Spectrum version because of those, but I'm hopeful that the Commodore 64 will be able to work its own magic on its own port of this game, and there's only one way to find out. Let's press fire to start. Prepare to start the race. Well, that's a nice engine noise. They're off. Well, the first thing I've noticed is the controls in this version are incredibly floaty. Oh god, those other cars are actually deliberately going for me in this version. And there's nothing that tells you which gear you're in this version. Look at the way that road is veering off to the right, and it's not convincing at all. Oh dear. Come on, move your arse. See, I'm actually getting really ticked off because I don't know what gear I'm in. It's a real problem in this, especially as when you're on one of those so-called... See, look, that car's off the road. Can you do that? No, of course not. Oh god, this is so unconvincing. And why have they gone for that stripy road and ground design? Oh god, that's going to give me an epileptic seizure. It won't. I don't get epilepsy, at least not at the time of doing this video. But god, this is ugly. And look, it looks like I'm barely even moving there because of strobing effects. Oh god, you have to really watch those cars. Oh goodness me. Oh my goodness. Let's give that another whirl. That camera zooming into the starting line is nowhere near as good as it is on the Amstrad version. And the way those street lights are coming into the foreground from the... You bastard! Can you see that was actually going for me? See, look, he's going for me again. Oh, I hate the way that this road reacts. And the way things come out of the background into the foreground isn't as convincing. Oh, you absolute bastard. They sort of latch onto where you are like a bad and hang on like a bad smell. Look how choppy it was when those chevron signs were coming from the background into the foreground. It's almost like they were on the right and then suddenly they were on the left, even at a slow speed. I mean, it moves quickly, but that's not enough to ignore the fact that a driving game has to feel right. This doesn't. Oh, God, that really is an eyesore. I'm going to run out of time again, aren't I? Oh. I didn't. Only just made it, though. There's nice parallax strolling on the background, the ocean signs there. Oh, no. See, look at the 3 levels of parallax strolling on the clouds at the top of the screen, and oh, you sod! They are really gunning for you in this. Oh God! I tell you what. Out of the 3 8-bits, see, look, he was going for me again. Oh, of course they can drive straight through you, but can you do that to them? No, of course not. See, look, he was going for me again. Cheeky bastard. See, he was going for me on the corner. Oh, he went for me just like those other cars did. Scumbag. See, look how the stripes of the road were sort of smoothly edgy towards me as I accelerated from nothing, but the trees were choppy. That's another reason they shouldn't have done the road the way they did. And I get the feeling I'm not going to make it to the next checkpoint because of all those crashes I've had. Sorry, because of all those occasions where those other drivers just plundered into me. No. I'm going to give this one more turn and then I'll give my final verdict. Oh God, I was quite some way away from that 3rd checkpoint. Right. One more go, then verdict's time. I mean, the engine sounds pretty good. And so those levels of parallax scrolling, it's just everything else about it just screams, ugh. See, look, those street lights coming into the foreground. They sort of seem to slow down at their midpoint and then suddenly accelerate again. That's not realistic. No, that's not realistic. What would happen in terms of perspective? Oh, go away! This is really annoying me now. What gear am I in? The other versions tell you what gear you're in. Why doesn't this? I'm sure it wouldn't have impacted on the frame rate. See, look. The trees are standing still, but the road was still scrolling. Yeah, that's super realistic. Oh, you sod right off. Oh, God. See, you just sort of seemingly just slide towards the side of the road when you're on a corner. It doesn't feel right. I'm definitely not going to make it. It's such a shame because the parallax scrolling in this is superb. It's just everything else. It's just everything. And there's... Oh! Ooh. Oh. When the clock went back to 99, I thought I'd discovered a glitch, but it wasn't going to let me. Oh my God! Look! That's how far away from the 2nd checkpoint I was. All because of those bloody other cars. And that strange thing of the car seemingly just being drawn towards the the outer edge of curves, as if a magnet, a powerful magnet, was suddenly pulling it there for no apparent reason. I know you would get pulled out like that if you were going too fast, but something about the way it's done in that just doesn't feel convincing. It was convincing in the Spectrum and Amstrad ports. It's not in this. So, verdict time. Graphics. Pretty dull, actually. A lot of it's just the same grey, and they use that horrible stripy road effect. Even the striped effect in the Amstrad CPC version is more bearable than it is in this. I mean, there are points where it looked like it was either barely moving or seemed like it was just flickering from one shade of grey to the other, and it just looked more like the road was being subjected to random electric shocks or something, and the fact that the edges of the road are also that same grey colour as the road itself. It just doesn't look right. And as you saw, there are points where the things like the street lights and the trees were not moving in direct relation to the stripy effects. So they became disjointed, particularly at that point when I crashed into those trees, and the road design was still animating, but the tree had stopped. That completely ruined the illusion. Sound, that's probably the best bit about this. This music and the sound effects in game are the best bit about this experience. Gameplay. This is nowhere near as good as the Spectrum and Amstrad versions. As I said just now, the overall feel of the game is just wrong. The physics are wrong. The way you get pulled out towards the outer edge of a corner is wrong. The way the roads generally curve in the game are wrong. They're not convincing, and the way that the side details edge towards you in perspective. There's something wrong with them. It's the point where it sort of goes fast, then slows down, and then goes fast again. And in fact, I noticed the frame rate the frame rate of those side details drop a little when there are a lot of them on the screen, which again made the game less convincing. And there are also points where the road made it look like I was either barely the stripy road design made it look like I was either barely moving, or the line effect flickered from one shade of grey to the other, which could be particularly dangerous for anyone who suffers from photosensitive epilepsy. Oh god, it's such a shame. The Commodore 64 deserved better than this, and I just can't give it the same score that I gave the other two versions I've reviewed. I'm really sorry, but I just can't. Imagine you have really released a duffer in this version. So I'm going to give W.E.C Le Mans / WEC Le Mans on the Commodore 64. Oh yeah, another thing I know. Sorry, another thing that I don't like about the gameplay is that more often than in the other versions, the other cars seem to be really gunning for you. It doesn't make the game challenging or enjoyable. It just makes the game incredibly irritating. Especially if you saw one car drive straight through me and not even suffer so much as a scratch. I mean, even in the Amstrad version, you saw some cars get damaged and have smoke coming out of them. In this, the computer-controlled opponents are really cheap. So yeah, back to my final score. I'm giving this Commodore 64 port of this game 4 out of 10. I'm sorry, but this really is a bad port. It's nowhere near as enjoyable as the other two versions I've reviewed, the Spectrum and Amstrad CPC versions. And if you're after an 8-bit version of this game, I urge you to play either of those two, especially the Spectrum version. Don't bother with this one. it's nowhere near as playable as those. It's unfair. It looks nasty, and it's unconvincing, and it just disgraces even the Commodore 64. So, hope you enjoyed that review. Catch you on another one soon. Speccy88 out.